Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the show on SportsNetUSA.net. It is Thursday, so that means you get to see our ugly mugs one more time. Mark Pavlovich in the upper left-hand corner of your screen. I am Corey Neyland. Ed Ford always behind the boards, making sure we get up and on the air. And we are happy to be joined by the athletic director of Fullerton College, longtime friend. Glad we got him on the show. Scott Giles. Scott, thank you very much for joining us today. And we got a lot to talk about because we haven't seen you in a while.
Thanks for having me. It's good to be here.
And as always, Mark, we're going to talk about this COVID thing, talk about community college sports. Where are we headed to first?
Well, since we know Scott Giles so well, this is a man who has been an athlete in the community college realm, a coach in the community college realm, a state championship coach in the community college realm, 4 titles in another sport as a coach and coach of the year. And then he comes over as an athletic director. And Corey, you already brought it up. I got to say, for all the people that Corey Neyland and I have met in our 18 years of doing sports for the community colleges, this is one man who seems to be the nicest out of everybody we've met, Corey. He can be a little critical of people, but he does it in a nice way, in a polite way. And so, Scott, I want to thank you for being here. So in throwing those accolades at you, I've got to ask you, you started as an athlete that played community college sports. You played community college sports in another state. So let's go right there with your background. I mean, what took you to community college sports, and then how did you lead on to where you are today?
Well, like you said, I attended a junior college outside the state of California at Snow Junior College in a small little town in Ephraim, Utah. And they're the only school that gave me a chance. So I wound up at Snow College because that was really my only option. And then I went there, and after playing football there for 2 years, I had some options, and it provided me a pathway. And I always look back to, my time at Snow College when I was 18 years old back in 1985. It kind of led me down a path to where I am today. I don't think if I would not have played football at Snow Junior College, I would not be in this position today. I'd probably gone a different route for a career. So everything that's happened sports-wise of my life, I have to trace back to the junior college level.
And what about the junior college level that was so inspiring for you to go down this path?
Well, I mean, they accepted a lot of people to just come walk on, where sometimes the 4-year schools, you have to have a special invite. There's not room. They have scholarship players. It's a 4-year school. So you just don't get those opportunities. But at a junior college, they thrive on walk-ons. They thrive on guys just showing up, and that's how they make their living. So we're the big guys, the USCs of the world and UCLAs. Yeah, it's very hard to walk onto those programs because they have the scholarship kids and there's big numbers. But at a community college, there's opportunities. And so that's why I love this level so much. And at our own level, in my tenure here at Fullerton College, we have provided a lot of young men the opportunity to go on to the 4-year level. And that's special. Not only do we win and we're successful, but we have a high transfer rate, and a lot of our kids do go on to 4-year schools, get their education. And that's one of the things I think we're most proud of, is the number of kids that we send off to 4-year schools.
Scott, when we and maybe I'm wrong here, because when I looked at things, I know you were a coach in Arizona. Was that were they a community college also? Because then my question would be, if they were community college in Utah, community college in Arizona, then we go to community college in California. Now, I know the time differences there. But I mean, would you say community college is community college no matter what state you're in?
I think so. When I played at Snow College, we had some pretty good competition. Dixie, which was in the St. George area, they're a 4-year school. They were a 2-year school. Ricks College was a powerhouse. The schools down in Arizona, Arizona Western, Eastern, Maricopa County, they were powerhouses. I think it's very equivalent to our level on the National League, not necessarily the American League, but the National League with, us, Saddleback, Mount Sac, um, Ventura, Bakersfield. Yeah, we're on this. It's pretty much the same.
Okay. And being the same in each state, um, what would be the biggest differences then that you could take away from your time coming up through Utah and Arizona now? But what would you say the biggest differences are between the states?
Uh, I think one big difference is in those other states is the travel is extremely difficult. Nobody close. Where here in the state of California, I mean, our travel is really we never have any overnight stays unless we're going up north for a state championship. But we can get on a bus and travel to Golden West, Orange Coast, Santa Ana, 20 minutes down the road. Where these other schools, they're isolated. Now, I know Maricopa County, which is the Phoenix metro area, those schools are, relatively close. But when you're at Snow College and you have to travel all the way down to Yuma, Arizona, New Mexico Military Institute. So the travel was extensive, long bus rides, very long bus rides. Imagine this going from Yuma, Arizona Western, Yuma, which is on the Mexican border, and then you're playing Ricks College, which is in Rexburg, Idaho, which is pretty darn close to Yellowstone National Park. That's a long road trip. And even for us, when we were at Eastern Arizona, to go from Eastern Arizona, which was over by the Las Cruces area, all the way up to through the state of Utah, those were some long bus rides. So that was one big difference. I think the coaching was great on those levels. The coaching's good down here. Um, we obviously had a lot of out of state kids, at these schools. But yeah, it's pretty much the same football.
So, Scott, in saying that, because Corey Neyland and I on a variety of shows and through many years of broadcasting, Mr. Neyland, and I've got to see the feasibility here for you, Scott, and because you've coached at different community colleges, Mr. Neyland and I have always proposed, at least at the end of the year, there should be some way that other states that have community college football teams or softball teams or baseball teams, that we really do need to have national championships to be able to call teams national champions. And you've been a coach at a national, I think in Arizona, weren't you also a national champion, or was that
No, I did. At Snow, I was a national champion. But you're right.
national?
Here, when we win a national championship here at Fullerton College, it's a mythical national championship. It's through the polls. It's not a game that is played. It's kind of like before you had, the current playoff system or the BCS system of Division One football, where it wasn't really a true national championship. It was mainly just polls, and that's what we do now because the California community college system does not play anybody outside the state of California. So for us to be crowned a national championship, it's more of a mythical. The poll riders get together and say, "All right, Fullerton won it," but we never play. But it would be nice to maybe at one point in time to have a true national championship game. The winner of the the National Junior College Athletic Association versus the champion of the 3C2A.
Yeah, I think it would be something that would be pretty unprecedented in the community college level, and it would generate so much buzz and electricity, especially for the sport at the level. I think it should be done at least, once or every other year. Um, Make that happen. And you talk about and you talk about those national championships in 2016 and one in 2017, but you know things happen. When you talk about that success, not only at the football level, football side, there was a recent state championship on the water polo side. Would you consider also a water polo championship in California Community College also a national championship, even if it's mythical?
Yeah, especially water polo because California dominates water polo. I don't know another state in the union that has the water polo club and high school and community college system and 4 year school. It seems like if you want to play competitive water polo, you move to California. There's just not that many programs outside the state of California. So if you win it on our level in the state of California, yeah, you're the best team in the country. You can't say that for basketball or baseball because everybody plays baseball, everybody plays basketball throughout the other 49 states. But when you talk about water polo, that's a California sport, in my opinion.
Corey, I'm just going to change things up a little because you brought up a couple different sports here. And Scott, I've got to ask you because I don't know. I think Fullerton College has been very fortunate to have some of the best coaches in a variety of sports. And I'm going to say in the name, Corey, and you can chime in and agree and disagree with me. I mean, you look at the coaches you had in baseball, you look at who you had in basketball. If we want to go to the staple sport and go to football, I mean, does Tim get as much love and his appreciation as Hal does? Probably not, but Tim probably deserves it because of the back-to-back national champions we can look at. So I've got to ask you, I mean, when you look at it, being the athletic director, what makes you so fortunate to get, when you look at a Perry Webster and young coaches, to get such talented young coaches at your community college?
Yeah, we've been very fortunate. Every athletic program hinges on our head coaches. If we can hire head coaches and bring in good head coaches, we're going to be successful. And we've done a nice job. Like you said, we hired Perry Webster. That was one of my first hires along with our committee. We don't make this, not one person does the hiring, it's the committee and the president, but we hired Perry Webster, who is outstanding. And we are going to be successful in basketball as long as he stays here, without a doubt. We are going to be winners without a doubt. Gabriel Martinez in water polo. We will compete for a state championship every year when he's our head coach, without a doubt. I'd like our soccer coaches. Greg's doing a great job there with men's soccer. We compete for conference championships in that arena. Football, we've done quite well. With Tim no longer at the helm, hopefully we can get back on track, which I know we will because we hired Garrett Campbell, who's an outstanding coach. And we had Brian Crooks here and Phil Austin we hired. So, yeah, it comes down to hiring really good people. And when we hire well, our teams do well. And so I think that's one of the biggest roles of an athletic director is the hiring of coaches. And we've done very well. And I'm excited to see what Chad Baum can do in baseball. I really am. I talked to Nick Viscardo today. I love Nick. It was his birthday today. He's 78 years old. So
Wow.
I gave him a call on his birthday. But I'm excited to see what Chad Baum can do in this Orange Empire Conference because it's I think it's about ready to turn over a little bit. The tragic loss at Orange Coast, that's a very tragic loss for them. But then you see Cypress, their coach, maybe, I don't know what his status is. He may coach till he's 95, who knows? But I think there's an opportunity for Chad to maybe get this program, our baseball. Nick did a great job, but I think Chad can maybe even elevate it.
And with all those great coaches you have at Fullerton, And you said the biggest responsibility of an AD is to get those coaches in. What are you looking for specifically uh, for those good people as coaches? What do you look for?
Oh, well, our goal for our athletic department is to field competitive teams. So we hopefully the coach we hire will field competitive teams. Another goal is to, you know, from an academic standpoint, we want to transfer students, and then we want to make sure our students are having a real positive experience on campus, growing as young men and young women. So that's a primary. So we're looking for coaches that can field competitive teams. We're looking for coaches that can get their students transferred, and we're looking for coaches that can um, develop these young men and women not only on the athletic field but in the classroom and as citizens. So when we look for a coach, we're looking for somebody, a woman or a man, that can come in and field competitive teams and compete for championships, have large roster sizes. You look at our programs that are successful, we have large roster. People want to come. You look at Gabe Martinez at water polo. He has a large roster for women's water
Yeah.
polo. Some of the other schools that come to play us who are not very good, they come in one van and there's empty seats on that van. But Gabe will bring in numbers, and we want numbers because numbers, fill our classes, and we want strong roster sizes. So those, we're just looking for people that are passionate, will come in and can recruit and can, get kids on our campus and keep them on our campus and make good decisions in recruiting who you want to bring in, um, who you want to, put your neck on the line for, and make sure we're bringing in good people. But we've done a great job. Yolanda, I forgot about Yolanda, our tennis coach. Last year, our men's team was probably the best team we've had since I've been here, 19 years. Unfortunately, we weren't able to finish out the season, but she's a little worker there. I'm looking for big things on that men's side, and also our women's side. Then we have a softball hire that's coming up, and we're going through the candidates right now, or we will be. And so we have another opportunity as a college, as an athletic department, to put somebody in position to be very successful on softball. And so we'll see how that goes.
Wait a minute. Neyland head coach, Pavlovich assistant coach on that softball team? Just throwing it out there. If you ever meet these guys, you'll know how much they know. And Ed Ford will be in the background. Scott,
Okay.
Staying with sports, because we've seen the Olympics change over the years. We're going to have breakdancing and skateboarding and that coming up in the Olympics. Are we going to see, because of the youth of today, college sports change? Maybe the staples will stay, but track and field doesn't seem to be that thing it was before. Maybe cross country does. But do you see a horizon where what Corey and I would call college sports changing in the next 10 years?
Well, I do know this. I know our team sports, kids like to participate in team sports. And like you said, track and field, I don't want to say it out loud, but it's dying here in America. It really is. And there's a lot of things I think that come into play. One is these kids. When I went to high school, you played football in the fall. Some people played basketball in the springtime. Football guys went out to run track just to get faster. There was no spring football. So you went out and you did track. And same with a volleyball player. Play volleyball in the fall, go out and do jumps or do something in track. But now these kids are playing these sports year round. So year-round soccer, year-round basketball, year-round volleyball, baseball, football, everything is year-round, and people just aren't going out and doing track. So it's not the sport it once was. Our greatest athletes, in the 50s, 60s, 70s, it was all the decathletes. In fact, we had Rayford Johnson died recently, one of the all-time great, and that was track and field was at its highest, But now kids don't grow up wanting to be track stars. They grow up wanting to play in the NBA, wanting to play football. There's more money in it on this end. So yeah, but I see our team sports being very successful because kids want to participate on a team, and that's what they're doing when they're young. They are, again, they start playing soccer and they're on a team and they play that sport year round. And so not a whole lot of people are being exposed to, maybe golf or track and field or even tennis because there's not enough time. Parents just don't have enough time, and the kids don't have enough time to be involved with sport year round and then go out and try to do some of these other sports. So yeah, I think our individual sports, they at least here at Fullerton College, they suffer somewhat. There's esports that a lot of people are rallying around. I don't know if that's something that we want to get involved with in athletics. I would rather push that over to uh, our student services and have them deal with esports. That's my take on it, and not have that in a traditional athletic department.
I think we would agree with that part because it's a sport in name only. So there you go. Now you talk about the kids playing and the coming into to Fullerton um, during this COVID-19 situation. What's the toughest thing you've seen or heard from your coaches and your staff about recruiting? What's been the impact of COVID-19 on the in-state and out-of-state recruiting?
Yeah, recruiting. I think the hardest part of all is just keeping the kids engaged and keeping them excited. So our current students, trying to keep them engaged when, once this pandemic hit back in March, trying to keep them like engaged through the summer and now through the fall semester. And now we're here in a spring semester that's going to start on the 25th of January. How are we keeping these people engaged? There's only so many Zoom calls you can have. There's only so much you can do remotely. So it's very challenging to keep them involved, to keep them enrolled in our classes when we're not participating in athletics. And likewise, it's hard to also recruit. We're not allowed to go out and do face-to-face recruiting in the high schools because we're in a stay-at-home order. And the 3C2As put a ban on all face-to-face recruiting. So it's taken a hit, not only on our current players or our returning players, but also our new student athletes. It's hard to keep those guys engaged when you're not able to see them. Now, in the fall semester of 2020, from October to about Thanksgiving, we were able to bring kids on campus for about 5 or 6 weeks. It had some conditioning with social distancing. We had these little pods that they stayed in, no shared equipment. So it was just really conditioning. And that was kind of nice to get kids on campus. They're able to come. Our swimmers were able to swim in the pool. Soccer players were able to run around the track. It was nice in that regard.
Scott, when we look at it, Ed's got a graphic he's going to pop up here. Fullerton opted out, but when we look at the teams that chose to, are there any surprises from you? I know each department makes its own choice to go. The way I understand it, Corey and I have talked to many ADs already, but we've got a graphic that Ed will show Southern California and Northern California on who's playing. Was there any surprises at some of the teams that you saw that decided to play when you look at this graphic up here and the ones that opted out?
I think the ones that surprised me the most in our conference, the Orange Empire Conference, this is the Southern California Football Association. So I was surprised that Santa Ana opted in. Whether they stay opted in or not, I don't know. I knew Golden West and Orange Coast were going to stay opted in. I knew that's the direct. They've been saying that they were going to play no matter what. So they're opted in. I was a little surprised about Santa Ana College. And then your schools up in Santa Maria, Allen Hancock, and I think it's what Bakersfield and Antelope Valley. So
Yeah.
I'm not too surprised with those schools either. Um, Now, are they going to play? I don't know. Who are they going to play? I don't know. What's their season look like? I don't know. But they've opted to say, "Hey, we're going to play." So we'll see how this happens if they even do play games.
Yeah, and if
And of
they do
course,
play games,
go
go
ahead,
ahead,
Corey.
Mark.
Go ahead. No, I was
I was
just
going to
going to
say if they
follow
do.
up because go ahead. You first. You're the head coach of the softball team. I'm the assistant coach. When we get hired, I'll sit on the bench and be quiet.
No, you
Go
got
ahead.
it. I think you got. I think we're going to ask the same question. So go ahead.
Well, no, as a head coach, you go ahead and I'll throw in there if you're off.
I'm never wrong. So, Scott, when you look at it, here, 4 games, there's maybe 5 schools. So, would 4 games be feasible monetarily for community college? Because it's we've been around it a long time, and we know the fiscal challenges of community college athletics. Would it even be feasible monetarily to play?
I, you know, well, as you guys both know, we don't generate a whole lot of money at the gate. We don't have TV contracts. We make our money like K through 12 butts and seats. We have student athletes enrolling in our classes. Our coaches are instructors. That's how we break. That's our business model. So we make money when we have big class sizes and we have a lot of students on campus. Um, I think one of the biggest challenges for these teams to play is going outside the county. Um, is I heard that if Santa Ana were to play, they'd only play schools in Orange County. They would not play schools outside of Orange County. So that really limits your competition for football. You got Golden West and Orange Coast. Is Orange Coast willing to travel, through LA County into Kern County to play Bakersfield? Is somebody willing to travel through LA County, Ventura County, Santa Barbara County to get all the way up to Allen Hancock and Santa Maria? I don't know what county they're in. I don't know if they're in Santa Barbara County or if they're in another county. I don't know. They may be in San Luis Obispo. But anyways, traveling logistics are pretty tough too. Traveling outside the county, I think that's a big issue. So I really don't see them playing. I think they opted in, um, and they're going to try, but I think it's going to be unlikely that they play. And if they do play, it'll be just a handful of games.
Scott, and in saying that too, once again, when we started off the show, Corey and I both agreed the type of gentleman you are. And I've got to ask you, when COVID hit and everything else, and then people started pointing their finger at sports and saying, oh, how are we going to play? Oh, we should play. We should play. Knowing you as the person you are, I mean, what was your first reaction as an athletic director? Had you sort of already made up your mind when you knew how deadly this virus could be, that at least at
Well,
Fullerton, my 2 cents is no?
Well, I mean, this thing has evolved over time. When this first happened, March 10th, March 11th of 2020, I thought we'd be back on campus after spring break, and then, but my attitude towards this virus has changed. As I've seen how deadly it has become and how hard it is to control it, my attitudes have changed. So be honest with you, back in April or March, April, I was like, hey, we got to play. We're going to play. We can do this. We can get this thing done. We can do it safely. And I still feel like we can do it safely, but the question is, should we? My attitude's changed. And right now, I am so happy that we opted out. I would not want to be trying to put a football team on the field ready for competition in February and our other teams playing early February I feel like we definitely made the right decision. Just the way this pandemic exploded, how it spiked during December, the hospital rates, the hospital are filled. People are dying. So I'm really fortunate that we made that decision as an athletic department. But I'd be lying to you if early on I did not feel this way. I thought we should kind of do it. We need to do it. We need to get the kids back on campus. But over the course of almost a year now, my attitude has changed somewhat towards this pandemic.
And so, with that attitude change and the progression of the disease, how does Fullerton move forward, if at all, if it plays in the spring two session, or if it doesn't in the fall of 2021?
Well, I think it largely depends on, can we control this virus? And we are now starting to get the vaccine out. So we'll see how this vaccine rolls out. We'll see if we can get the majority of the people within the nation and California to take the vaccine, because at some point in time, everybody's going to have that opportunity to take it. Now, whether they choose to take the vaccine or not, that's up to them. But I think it's really critical that we get the vaccine out, and especially to our elderly and those people of risk, um, first and foremost. And then hopefully we get this vaccine out so we can create some type of herd immunity and get kids back on campus. That's my take on it. Is the vaccine is the key to getting us back on campus.
Okay.
When we talk about the herd community, I got to go. I mean, Scott, most people look at coaches and people in an athletic department and think, especially when it comes to education, hey, they have a winning team. That's about all they do. Now, Corey and I happen to know that's not true because of the educators that you have there. But what are you doing as the athletic director right now? I mean, what is business at Fullerton College? And what are your coaches doing? And how do you stay involved with their everyday, whatever they might be doing?
Well, it's definitely changed. Typically during a school year, we'd have some type of a live sporting event on our campus almost every day, except for maybe Monday and Sunday. Those seem to be the off days. But you look at as we go through fall, football on Saturday, men's soccer Tuesday and Friday, and then we have volleyball Wednesday, Friday, and then spring we have baseball, softball Tuesday, Thursday. So without having sports on our campus, things I do every day has changed dramatically. So now I sit in front of the screen like this, and we communicate to our coaches. We communicate as a staff. We meet regularly with David Grossman, our dean, and our support staff, our athletic trainers, our equipment managers, Phil Thurman. We meet, we plan, and that seems what we do. We plan, we prepare. Yeah, that plan is thrown out the window. Then we plan and prepare. Oh, that plan's thrown out the window. Then we plan and prepare. Oh, that plan's thrown out the window. But the biggest thing, I help Dr. Grossman with our classes, making sure our instructors are meeting their load. And all our classes, majority of our classes have been moved on to a remote learning online platform. But it's, today I went in today, I had an Orange Empire conference meeting with the president. Just answering emails. We're trying to get our turf field redone on our football field. So I worked on that a little bit today. Just emails. There's always a bunch of emails to read and pass on. I get information from the 3C2A, then I send that out to our coaches. But it has been different working from home. I try to go on campus a couple times a week because I like to be in my office. Plus, I live 2 blocks away from the school, so it's not that big a deal to walk across Chapman and get in the office. And I enjoy being there. Anita Ward, our admin 3, she's there every day. She's working 7 to 5, just like she's always done. David Grossman came down today. We walked around. We went over the soccer field, the baseball field. We're just looking at some projects we can get done. But it has been definitely different not having sports on our campus.
Yeah, and speaking of projects being done, I we know it's been a long time regarding the football field, the stadium at Fullerton. Um, is there a light at the end of the tunnel to get that done? Because we know some things have been approved, but has it been able to move forward during COVID, or is it just now stagnant
Yeah,
and
no, we've
stalled
had
until
some.
after?
No, we've actually had some working group meetings. So we've met with the architects multiple times. We discussed the stadium multiple times. We signed off on a few things. So hopefully it's not going to happen in 2021. May we play in there in 2022? I think there might be a chance of 2022. I know we've been talking about this thing since, I don't know, since Rajan was here in 2015, 2016. We have a hard time building a 2,500 seat stadium where SoFi Stadium, that thing went up. Uh, Las Vegas Raiders, they put together a stadium just like that. But we have a hard time building a 25 seat stadium. It's just a lot of paperwork and a lot of hoops we have to jump through. But I feel it's going to happen without a doubt. It is going to happen. Is it what we wanted? No. Um, is it what our coaches wanted? No. Basically, when we got on this bug, this user group, building user group, a bug, so they get everybody that's going to use that facility and try to get our ideas. And everything we suggested was just turned down. No, we can't do that. Can't do that. Can't do that. So after the first couple of meetings, we just sit there like we don't say anything because we know that the environmental impact report was so narrow that anything we want to change, it's like, nope, can't do that. Lawyer said we can't do that. I wanted my thing is I wanted the seats to be bigger than 18 inches. So on the diagram or on the specs, the architects made it that each seat is 18 inches. Now, if I were to get myself out there and Tom Deep and some other large individuals, and they don't even have to be large individuals, and you try to sit on 18 inches, you're going to be on top of each other. So I propose that we make the seats bigger at a minimum of 24. I'd like to go 30 inches. So a seat would be this, about 30 inches. But they said, no, it's 18. So we couldn't even do that. Phil Thurman had some ideas for the press box. No, we can't do that. But hopefully at the end of the day, it's going to be somewhat of a decent stadium, something that we can be proud of and we can play on campus.
All right.
The biggest problem they're going to have, biggest problem is trying to get the name up there to the Sherbeck, Pavlovich, Neyland field. That's going to be really tough to do. And you do realize, Scott, that Corey will be standing during the entire game because he don't fit into 18 inches. I don't care how you look at it. No offense, partner, but you need that. Wait a minute. What did Scott say?
Yeah, we want 36. But hopefully our press boxes. We've really tried to make sure we have a nice press box. I love Yorba Linda High School, but that press box. They put all the electrical panels and everything in front, so It's really a small. When you think about it, window space. It's kind of a small little press box. But hopefully, you guys will have a big press box. And then our coaches will have their own little press box for the visiting coach and our coaches, as well as a nice big press box for our media.
Scott, before I let you get away,
it's not going to be like SoFi Stadium, by the way. I flew over that stadium coming back from Thanksgiving, and boy, that's a beautiful stadium, SoFi. But it's definitely not going to be anything close to that.
Guys, I know we all love football and everything else, and we talk about football, but when we look at the OEC and things that are going on, I mean, Scott, what is the outlook for the rest of the sports? We've talked so much about football. What's the outlook for softball, baseball, men's volleyball, any of those? What's the
Yeah.
OEC's
So our,
outlook on these sports overall?
yeah, so our spring one, which was our traditional fall sports, we opted out, and a lot of other schools opted out. Those that opted in, I don't know how many games they're going to play. I really have no idea. But our spring two sports, which is our traditional spring sports, we have all opted in, or nobody's opted out yet. So we're pretty optimistic that we can play baseball, we can play softball, we can go swim, we can do track and field, and we can do tennis. And we're very optimistic that we can pull that off as of right now. But we'll see. We'll see how this pandemic shapes up. I can't believe we're already, what is today? The 13th of, so the 13th,
14th of
it's the
January.
14th of January already. February is going to be here before we know it. March is going to be here. Boy, we're still, the county of Orange is still in a purple state.
Yeah.
I don't know. I really don't know. I've tried to predict COVID and thinking, hey, this is going to happen. It's unpredictable. I really don't know. I don't think we reached the peak of hospitalization rate. I don't think we've reached the peak of deaths yet. And still those numbers start to go down drastically. I don't know if we're going to be on campus or not, but we're shooting for our spring two, which is our traditional spring sports. Hopefully in April, we can be back on campus practicing and hopefully competing mid-April.
I've got to ask this before we get off the air, Corey, because we talked about football,
Okay.
we talked about the football stadium, and I'm sort of using Ed Ford. He's sort of zooming in the back of my head. Scott, we have seen so many nice new softball facilities on the community college level. We're not just talking California, but we're talking around the nation. And when we look at the softball facility at Fullerton College, it's sort of squeezed in the corner, sitting there on the street. Unless you really know what's going on, you don't know there's a game going on. Is there any plans in the future for something to happen? You talked about the hiring of Corey Neyland and Mark Pavlovich as the new coaches, but is there going to be a new softball field to go along with that to entice us to sign the contract?
No. Now we might be able to make some improvements, but our campus, there's not a whole lot of space on our campus. You walk on our campus and our footprint is very, very, very small, and parking is a main issue on our campus. We hear that over and over again, parking, parking, parking. There's really no place. Plus we share a little bit of our campus with Fullerton High School. They have a baseball field. They have a farm. That takes up a little bit of our usable space. But you tell me where to build a new softball diamond on our campus. I'll recommend it. I just don't know where. I really don't. We're just so landlocked here. I've been to almost every community college in Southern California, and there's some community colleges with a lot of space, a lot of open space that they could do some things. But man, we are just so tight here. I mean, I'd be open for suggestion. Where do we move it to? I don't know.
I'd move it down.
Fullerton High School off, but I was going to say besides taking Fullerton High School out of there, that's where I do. I'd say you got your own space. Go on over there. Let us get our softball field a little bit bigger, a little bit better.
I like that,
and we'll grow it there. But you're good neighbors though.
Well, they own that property. We don't own it, so we can't dictate to them what to do. And you look at Fullerton High School; they are landlocked too. There's no room over there for them. So where are they going to put their animal farm and their baseball field? The two schools are landlocked. Now, can we buy up some of our neighbors' property? Maybe at some point in time, but people aren't willing to move, and housing prices are through the roof. I don't know if we can afford to buy up a whole block of houses. But so we definitely have some limitations just based on our geography. We're just landlocked. So
And
I'll be
Scott,
honest with you. Yeah, we could make some improvements, but I don't see that softball field being changed anytime soon.
Okay. Well,
all
we'll
right.
still sign the
That,
contract.
Okay.
I got one more question for you, Scott. As we want to grow community college, and I know this is a small question and a lot of answers, but out of COVID-19, how do we grow community college athletics and community college education as a whole?
Good question. Well, I do feel like um, kids want to compete, and kids always want to play. They want to compete. Everybody has dreams of competing and moving on to the 4-year level. So I think there'll be no shortage of kids wanting to come here and compete, um, especially with the bottleneck now at the 4-year school. Um, with everybody getting the year over with, there's going to be a little bottleneck. So I think our coaches are going to be out there. Again, it's going to start with our coaches. They're going to have to go out and recruit and get kids excited about coming to Fullerton College. But I think there's always going to be kids wanting to play and wanting to play at good programs. So if we continue to have good, solid programs, fund our programs, bring in good coaches, we will have kids that will come here on our campus to play. But as far as exposure and getting more people excited about community college athletics, I'm puzzled too. How can we're always going to have good teams, and we're going to, Perry's going to have a state championship team, and football is going to field a good team, and our other sports are going to field a good team. But how do we get other people besides you guys and our staff and our players and our parents and girlfriends and boyfriends? How do we get more people in the community involved? That's a very good question. How do we get more people excited about community college athletics? How can we get more people to come to our games? Because we do have a good product, and the people, I don't know if they don't know about it, but how can we get back to the days of playing at Angel Stadium and 25,000 people? I don't know if we'll ever get to that point ever again, but I think we can market it in such a way to get more people excited, more people in the gym, other than just the old guard that always comes. There's old timers that come no matter what, and you always have parents are always going to show up. But how do we get just more fans? That's a good question. I don't
Scott,
know if that's where
before we
you're leading
go,
to, but I don't know about how we get more people excited about community college athletics.
Okay.
one thing I'd like to see community college sports do, and maybe you can throw it out there. I know teams get accolades for academic teams and athletic departments, but I'd love to see coaches, maybe each conference, and figure out a way to do it where an educator who's a coach gets recognized as an educator. I think that's still one thing that's wrong with sports. I think most people look at coaches as people that make money and go out to a football field and really don't teach anything. I'd love to see somewhere along the way that there would be an award given to the outstanding academic coach from each conference down the road, if that's a possibility.
Yeah, because all our head coaches are instructors and professors. They are professors of physical education. They're on the same pay scale and have the same status in the college as somebody teaching math or humanities or life sciences. So our coaches are instructors first and foremost on our level, because that's how they get paid. Now, at the 4-year level, they don't teach. They are coaches only. But on our level, they are definitely instructors first. That's where they make the bulk of their money as instructors, and then they also coach. So that's a good idea to recognize our coaches as instructors, not just merely coaches in intercollegiate sports, but they teach a wide variety of physical education classes, lecture classes, as well as activity-based classes.
Just had to get that in for your new softball coach because he's a heck of an instructor.
Yeah,
Scott, we really want to
yeah.
thank
I'm
you for
not allowed.
joining
I'm not allowed to comment on the hiring process, but I've seen
I tried.
somebody's name on there, but I'm not allowed to comment on that.
That's okay. We're busy over here, so we're good on that. Scott, thank you very much for joining us. We always appreciate you, and we always enjoy your time because, as Mark mentioned, you are maybe one or one A, but you're definitely one of the nicest people we've been to come across doing this, and we always want to thank you very much.
Well, I appreciate you guys coming on campus. I miss you guys. I honestly do. I just cannot wait to hear your guys' voice in the press box and your enthusiasm at Yorba Linda High School. I can't wait to see some of those guys that trying to learn the trade there at a volleyball game, and you guys are standing behind them and coaching them up. And I can't wait for you guys to get in the gym for a big basketball game and just hear your voice. But I truly missed not having football in the fall. I think this is probably the first fall in a long, long, long time. Probably going back to when I was a elementary school. But even this is the first time I have not seen a live football game probably since third grade.
Wow.
Because I started going to the high school football games, I know, when I was a fourth grader. We used to sneak in and it was Timpview High School in Provo, Utah, and you could watch the game. The stadium was built in the hill, so we'd go up and watch the game over the hill and then try to sneak in at some point in time as little elementary school kids. But you think about it, I mean, this is probably close to 45 years since I have not seen a live football game in the fall. So it's just weird not being there. Today I was over at the college and I went into our little storage area where we have our basketball, the big table we roll out, all our chairs. It's like I used to live in that room, setting up games, setting up volleyball matches. And now I barely go in. I have that's the first time I've been in there for almost 10 months. So it's really strange, but I do miss seeing you guys. I miss seeing, Nick Biscardo and Jerry Padilla and all the guys that come out and support us. Perry's family at the game. Mom and dad and wife comes with the little kids and our coaches, and I really miss seeing our parents. Of our student athletes or cheerleaders. I mean, it's just, you just miss it all. It's sad, but we're going to get back. We'll be back there in 2021. I'm confident of that.
All right. Well, we're looking.
Might be
we're
different.
always looking forward.
We might be all wearing face masks. We'll be back.
When you guys get
so.
back, we'll be back. All right.
Yeah.
Scott, once again, thank you very much for joining us. That's Scott Giles, Athletic Director of Fullerton College. And if you like more of the show and want to watch the show again with Scott Giles, always tune in to sportsnetusa.net nationally and internationally with Jason Perez on the show. We got a little across the seas things going on. So for Scott Giles, Fullerton College AD, Mark Pavlovich, Ed Ford, I am Corey Neyland. And once again, you've been watching the show on sportsnetusa.net.